Hey, and welcome back to the Me First Mindset podcast, where we're asking the question, what would happen if you chose yourself? And on the podcast today, I have Greg. He is a coach. He works on mindset. He is a huge proponent of mindset and meditation. And we're going to hear from him how those things really helped him get through some of the hardest parts of his life and helped him to find and start to live the impact that he wanted to make in the world. I can't wait for you to hear coming up next.
My name is Greg Singleton, and I am dedicated to creating a positive impact to every person that I possibly can in the best manner that I can every single day. And the only way to possibly get there is to learn who you are and what you stand for in life and your core values. I help teach clients that. I speak about it. I try to write. I've written about it. All those aspects become relevant in your everyday life. And the more clear you can become on who you are, the better you will be for yourself and everyone around you.
What does it even mean to you to put yourself first?
Sure. One of the major aspects for choosing me first is having a healthy relationship with who I am and what I stand for in life. And building off of that is the core reason of why choosing yourself first is the absolute ripple effect that runs into every relationship that you have, whether that's family or friends or coworkers, bosses. It doesn't matter who it is in life. Every answer comes down to you being comfortable in your own skin and learning the process of how to even get to that place before you can develop healthy relationships outside of the one with yourself.
Yes. Yeah. When I think that's so relatable, it's really truly that, like, being able to get to that place, right? The getting there is the hard part. The giving yourself permission to even start thinking about putting somebody else first sometimes is really scary.
It is. It's scary every step of the way. And the more you keep pushing yourself out of that comfort zone of putting invalidation or validation within someone else, the easier it becomes for you to stretch how comfortable you can be in every situation, whether that's being alone with yourself and no time with anyone around, or being in a giant setting with tons of different people, and you still have the ability to stay true to your core values and what you stand for.
So what has that ended up being important to you in your life?
One of the most important things for me in life is impact. And that's truly what I believe is the reason most of us are here, because we will all outlive every single thing that we own, possess, buy, think we own all of it. The one true thing that you will leave behind is the impact that you leave on others. And that is, once that became more of a prevalent realization for me, I then began to realize how I needed to show up for myself first in order for me to give 100% of the best value of me to the people that I'm surrounded by. And in order to create that impact for the life that you want to live, you can't do that in a skin that you are people pleasing toward other people.
Yeah, it goes back to not even knowing what you're capable of. And
Sure.
I've had a very similar path. I think that when you start to think about your life as an impact, when you're thinking about, like, what are my goals going to be for 2024 as we're going into this, like, goal setting era, or what do I want to do with my life? When you start to feel differently or look bigger, like, not just like what I want to accomplish right now or this week or this year, who do I want to be in life? Who am I in life? What kind of impact can I have? And the question is great, but the answer is I'm having no impact on anybody, or maybe even a negative impact, if I'm not coming from a place of authenticity first. Everyone has this unique blend of whatever makes them them, and you can't bring that out into the world unless you know what it is. And so spending that time to get to know yourself really can be the difference between living the life that you are meant to live. I wouldn't use like predestined, but like the life that's available to you in your highest form, your most authentic, connected version of yourself, or just living a very small, very uncomfortable, very sheltered life.
Very much so. And we as a society are conditioned to do that.
Yeah.
And the more that we fall into that same repetitive nature of living the perfect impression of someone else's life rather than living ourselves and our lives imperfectly, is where a lot of most positions in jobs, in relationships, all of it come from a place of not living authentically to who you really are. And unless you take the time to truly sit down and understand what you stand for in life and what you're going to be happy leaving behind in life,
Mm-hmm.
it becomes cumbersome, and there are roadblocks and there are walls of self-preservation, and it becomes a distance between certain individuals that need to be a positive impact. It becomes murky waters for you to how to figure out the next step in creating the best way that you can live your life. For
Yeah,
me.
and I think that you talked about like society is built on a standard of what they expect out of us, and then if we continue to choose to look at life as how do I fit into that, like where can I squeeze myself in and make it work, like that's the usual experience of being in society, as opposed to like how can I be so authentically myself that I'm attracting people that will build with me, and then we're building a structure that I don't have to fit myself into, that I just fit into naturally. And it makes sense why society would create structure that we have to then fit into for the good of the whole. But do you
Mhm.
have any other thoughts on like navigating that? Because a lot of clients that I talk to have that same issue, like I don't know where I fit in, and I don't know how to not fit in and still survive.
Absolutely. I lived the entire life of fitting in. I did every single thing that you possibly could imagine. I chose an IT career out of college. That was in 2000 when I graduated. And I worked my way all the way up through that just to continually try to get the successes in career and successes in life and money and value and all of that. And ultimately, what that ended up getting me was the illusion of a perfect life that I thought I was living. And when
Hmm.
you do that, there will be a crashing halt at some point in your life, or a realization that is your light bulb moment, or ahas, that I've been doing this wrong for so
Mm.
long. So, how you go about changing your mindset in that is separating yourself from each time that you step into a situation, is asking a simple question: are you doing it for you, or are you doing it for them?
Yeah.
And that's one of the simplest ways to start. And if you have the ability to cognitively recognize the steps you're taking, you can see if that step is for someone else or if that step is for the betterment of your process.
Yes.
And it's long and tedious at times, but it's imperative in order for you to be able to figure out what you really stand for.
And I 100% agree with that. And at the same time, playing devil's advocate, there people will hear this and be like, "Wow, that is so selfish. Like, how can you build relationships if you're only just ever choosing yourself?"
Very much so. And that is a very tricky aspect to navigate consistently, because your ego will always show up in every
Hmm.
situation that you are in. Your ego will scream from the mountaintops of whether which way it is you need to be validated, or you want to be
Hmm.
right, or you want to make sure someone knows that you know more than them. All those aspects still continually come up. One of
Hmm.
the easiest ways to set a healthy boundary that I have found for me is understanding that if you do what's best for the situation, that situation, the outcome, removing yourself from it, that has the ability for you to remove your ego and remove the selfishness from what is in front of you.
Hmm.
And as you do that, you can create a healthier boundary around the best situation for this is, if this is detrimental to me and my own core values and my health, that is not the answer that I can move forward with. If I
Hmm.
can move forward with creating the best situation for what is called for in the moment, and it does not compromise who I am, that is the correct answer for moving forward. How I started to build a healthy boundary in a bubble of recognizing what situations I can extend myself into and what situations don't align and would be detrimental toward the way that I operate. And
Hmm.
that resonates beginning in thinking and how you cultivate that mindset of what is healthy and what isn't healthy. And all of the decision making process that you have made up to that point, you get to pick and choose what's worked and what hasn't. So
Yes.
you get to cherry pick out of your entire past of everything that you've done what has worked for you and what has worked against you, because every decision you've ever made has led you to this moment. You and I chatting on this podcast, every decision we've made has led us to this moment. So we get to pick and choose what's worked and what doesn't.
Yeah. And that is a truth that I also believe in, is that you have ultimate sovereignty, authority, autonomy over your life and your choices. And oftentimes there's not a right or wrong choice. There's not a good or bad choice. There's just a choice that you can make peace with. You either get in the direction that you're going to, or you learn and you do something else. And so it's always just creating the next step. And so when people are saying, oh, isn't it selfish? This is a great opportunity to peel that apart a little bit and find out what the core beliefs on selfishness is, and recognizing that when we believe something to be selfish, we are not factoring ourselves into the equation. Because if we're building a relationship with two people, you are a part of that equation. And if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for either people. So
100%.
yes, you're not going to get to healthy alignment. Yes, you can fit yourself into any relationship. You can make anything work if you want to, really, but it's not going to feel good, or it'll feel good just until it doesn't.
Exactly.
But if you are committed to doing what's best for you, you're going to attract people that what's best for you is also what's best for them. And that's where you have healthy, secure relationships, is being able to be like, oh, this works for me and for you. If you're so stuck in this, like, ooh, what if I choose me and it doesn't work out for them? That's called a win-lose mindset. And what we want to get to is, what's the win-win mindset? That's the hard part for a lot of people, is to even tolerate the idea that there can be such a thing as a win-win mindset. They've gotten so stuck into, in order for someone else to win, I have to lose. In order for me to win, they have to lose. And so the more we entertain this, like, black and white, win, lose, at all costs, this is always the outcome. It's not always the outcome. There is a win-win opportunity. You just have to be brave enough to start putting yourself first to see if that pans out. That's the what could happen if you put yourself first. That's the start of the snowball.
Totally agree. 100%. We are stuck in a society that it is, every outcome is a 50-50. It is either a positive or a negative, or a win or a loss.
Right.
And the more you approach every situation like that, you become conditioned to go, if I extend myself to this person, what am I going to get out of it? Or if I take this job, what am I going to get out of it? What am I going to give? It is not a definitive, ever black and white, down the line, 50-50, win or lose. It is, there always is other outcomes that we do not imagine, we do not think of. And the only time we ever believe a decision to be right will only ever be taught to us down the road. So even beginning to know that you are right now, you have no idea. Your decision now, it could be 2 weeks from now before you go, I'm glad I made that decision.
Right.
Or if you make that decision and go, that was a bad one, but I learned from it. And
we have that hindsight.
Yeah. And every time that you do that with someone, you can always cultivate a healthy win-win for everyone, with healthy boundaries of creating a way to create space for yourself and for the other person to recognize that if they're not right for you, how can you help them? How can you put them in a situation to be in the best position for them? That doesn't mean it needs to be something back from you. It just is the right thing that you are healthy enough to come to the realization for, that you and them can both win in every situation.
And going back into the mindset of things and the recognition when you're pulling it apart on what's win-loss, or what's good-bad, or what's healthy, what's not healthy. Some things that are bad for you are healthy for you. Some things that are difficult for you are the win. Sometimes the loss is the win. And so being able to tolerate the discomfort of having a decision that didn't go as planned. So that we're talking about outcomes, like you said, like impact and outcome. And so when we think about outcome, if we're so attached to a certain outcome, we're almost guaranteeing a win-loss, right? Or a lose-win. If we're attached to the process and the experience and being relational about it and being able to learn, if we're attached to the learning of the experience, then there's always a win-win. There's never a time where there's a lose-win. There's never a time, because you can always feel into whatever the win was for you, and you choose the win-win for yourself, because remember, we are always in choice with our life.
Always. And I can tell you, I went through that. I had a catastrophic moment for me, and that was divorce for me. And at that moment, in the exact minutes of what I was going through, it felt like a weight that was unbearable and I couldn't carry. Looking back on it now, it's one of the most beautiful, phenomenal, great experiences that I would never change for anything in the world, because I wouldn't be where I am now without shattering my ego and shattering the illusion of people pleasing and living a life that I wasn't truly meant to live. So,
Yeah, you were saying
yeah,
that you had kind of built your whole life up to that point based off of what you thought was required of you. Like, okay, I got the checklist of the American dream. Here's all the
mhm,
things that I need to do right out of college. First of all, I need to go to college and get all this debt. And second of
there you
all,
go.
to get the high paying career that gives me a ladder in a corporate setting. And third of all, I need to get the wife and I need to get the house and all of these things. Right. And so you're talking now about like there being a pinnacle moment in your experience where you got to the realization that you didn't build any of that for yourself.
Correct. And
Yeah, tell me more about that.
that was the exact moment that I didn't know I needed.
Mhm.
And having that amount of realization in the moment would have been amazing, but it's impossible when you are dealing with just shattered illusions of everything that you have thought you have done in life.
Yeah.
So when that happens, it's incredibly difficult to move forward in long-term goals. It's a step by step, it's a half day process, it's a eating breakfast process, it's a getting to the end of the day process. It is a moving from goals of long-term aspects to, okay, how can I get to this afternoon?
Right.
What are the steps that I need to take in order to get me to lunch?
Mhm.
And as you move forward in those steps, the longer you do it, it becomes incredibly enlightening for how you go about life, because it shifts the mentality of validation from external sources to internal validation of I can do this. I
Mhm.
know I can take this next step. This next step is getting out of bed. I know I can do that. I'm good there. I know I've done it before. I know I can do it. Okay, I can get to work. I can get to lunch. I can get to the end of the day. All those aspects, it becomes small, tiny steps. And it's as cliche as it sounds,
Mhm.
but each tiny step adds an incredible amount of longevity to the way that you can operate in life.
We get
And
to these pinnacle parts where you realize that somehow you realize that what you've built is this whole outer shell that doesn't really resonate with you. And then you start to look for yourself in the process. And when you don't find anything, right? When you're like, oh shit, I'm completely empty. Like there's not even, I have spent so much time building things for somebody else, but there's not even a myself left. Like I don't know what I like. And
mhm,
it manifests like this. I don't like anything. In fact, I don't even like being here anymore. I can't tell. It's so painful to be in existence in this
yep,
emptiness that I chose for myself. And it's this like guttural feeling of like nothing matters, nothing makes sense anymore because I didn't matter to me first. I didn't make myself matter at all. I made everybody else matter before me, and now I don't matter. And that's the pit that we find ourselves in. That ends up being the beautiful win that we can grow out of. But you're right. In those moments, it's what we would consider mental health first aid. Just get out of bed. That's the
mhm,
win. Just brush your teeth, have a glass of water. That's the win. And then
mhm,
when you can do those things just for you, I'm no longer
mhm,
doing them for my spouse. I'm not doing it for my kids. I'm not doing it for my dog because sometimes all those things come crumbling down. I'm not doing it for my job anymore. I have to truly choose to believe that I am worth living for. Just me, by myself, regardless of everything against me.
yep,
I am worth brushing my teeth. I
yes,
am worth drinking a glass of water. And sometimes that's hard to get there and to just make those small micro decisions just for you. That ends up being the foundation of building a life that does feel good in the future.
it does. And I realized that I became addicted to the people pleasing aspect because it gave me a sense of worth,
Yeah.
because I gave that other person the ability to feel good in that moment. And when I wasn't capable to do that anymore, that became my, oh my God, everything I've ever done has never been truly for me. It's
Hmm.
been for someone else. how do I even begin to start the process of understanding what I stand for, what I want to do in life, what drives me, what do I even want to get up and do?
Mm-hmm.
And I had to go from the very, very, very early steps of just figuring out that every decision I made in life led me to that point.
Yes.
And when I got
Yes.
to that point, I can't keep making the same decisions. I needed to pivot. I needed to change. So
Yes.
when I would find myself in the same rut of making the same decisions, I would have to become very cognizant of it and then pivot quickly out of it to a position that was much more of a, okay, I actually don't want to go out tonight, but I hope you guys have fun. Let me know. Call me tomorrow, and hopefully it's going to be a great time. Let me know how it goes. Rather than going, do you want me to drive you guys? I'll go out and drive you guys. I'll do whatever you need me to do to make you guys feel happy. Is it going to be a good night for you guys? So
Yeah.
I had
We
to bring all that.
we talk about this in relationship coaching in terms of attachment style. So and then like energy management. So we think about things like security, or the secure attachment style, and then insecurity or anxious attachment style. And so what it feels like in the body is, if I say no to going out, they're not going to invite me again. They're going to hate me. We're not going to be friends anymore. I have to secure my spot in this group, and I have to do everything I can to please them so that I can keep them safe. Because what we're looking for is, we're bartering for connection, and we really want that connection. But if we continue to do something against our own will, nature, wants, needs, it ends up being an insecure connection anyways, because it's not authentic. It's not what I wanted. So now I'm feeling either guilty for not going or bitter for going.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I live there.
Yeah. I mean, so many of us do. Anybody that's ever felt like they needed to barter for attention. Anybody
Mhm.
that's ever had an insecure attachment as a child probably ends up being these very great friends, people pleasers, lovely
Yep.
spouses, self-abandoning people that
Yep.
can just meet everybody else's needs. And it's not longevity. It's not sustainability. There's going to be a blowout at some point, and it's going to be so painful for them and for everybody else, because nobody knows. Me too, man. Nobody knows who you are, including the people in your life. So when you start showing up with your boundaries as your authentic self, there's going to be a shakeout. Not all your relationships are going to make it. They're not going to like
Mhm.
this new person, because you were never that person to begin with them. And it's okay if that doesn't fit. It's just being able to tolerate in those moments. I know how bad it feels to be empty. I know how bad it feels to be empty. And I know I can never go back to that. And I have to be willing to choose myself at all costs so that I can have better, more aligned, more authentic, more fulfilling relationships in the future.
Totally agree. And that is where I spent so much of my life previous. And now I can wholeheartedly tell you that every relationship that I have with friends that I meet, friends that I've known for years, and people that I just meet on the street are far more genuine and real. And the reaction from those people is far more genuine and real, because it's me. It's the authentic me being happy, being fine with the outcome of whatever happens. And if I can create a positive impact for those people around me, that's phenomenal. That's my intent. That's what I choose to do. If I do the best that I possibly can right now with the information that I have right now, that's the only decision that I can make. I can't make decisions 2 weeks from now, and I can't make decisions that have already been made in the past.
Right.
Only can make the decision right now with the best information that you have.
And
And
something so funny happens when we end up being ourselves and we hold those boundaries, but in a place of security, not like, don't ask me to go out because I told you that I couldn't go out today. It's more just like, hey, that doesn't work for me. I'll see you on the next time. When you have that neutrality, when you're leading with a neutrality, that is really where security can come from. Something so funny happens. People begin to trust you more because
they
they
do.
know that if it doesn't work for you, you're going to say it doesn't work for you. And they
Mhm.
know that you're not going to feel like, I don't want to invite her because then she's going to say yes. And then she's going to be sorry, she's going to be sour about it the whole
Yep.
time. Like, I hate that. Like, I wish she would just say that she didn't want to go and then go do something that she wants. So people end up starting to trust you, respect you better, and have better connections with you when you do hold boundaries. And if they don't, it's not your people, right? There are
Mhm.
people that will respect and trust that about you if you start to show up that way.
Very much so. And the longer I keep going through that process, I have even, boiled trust down to how I even approached trust and what my ideas of trust
Mm-hmm.
were and where they came from. And almost every one of my relationship, friendship, family, everything revolving around it was transactional in trust. It was, if I did something for you, I
Mm-hmm.
expected you to do something for me. And if
Yeah.
you trust that I will be this person, I need to act in the way that you see fit in order to
Right.
build you trust. So the only way I was ever able to do that is by placating and living into what everyone else thought I should do. I
Mm-hmm.
trust that you will do this. I would do it in order to build the trust, not the other way around of saying, okay, that doesn't work for me right now, but this is the best I can do in this situation. I can't
Yeah.
meet all of your needs, but what I can do is do this. So
Yes.
my breaking down of even the ideas of trust in how I viewed it, even if I trusted someone else to do something, they had to act in a manner that I saw fit for them, which is not allowing the other person to be who they are. So
Yes.
I broke down every bit of trust that I just try to do the right thing rather than trusting other people now.
So I have a theory about trust that's kind of similar to that. Secure trust sounds like this. You trust me to take care of myself so that I can show up more fully for you. And I trust you to allow me to do that.
Love it. Absolutely. And because that allows everyone to be authentically who they are.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be around people that have to act in a certain way in order for me to approach you and trust you. I want
Yes.
you to show me your true colors.
Yeah.
And I will help you be the best person you can for you, knowing that it's not going to hurt me. It's not going
Right.
to reflect poorly on me. It's not going to knock me down a peg. It's not going to inflate my ego. I will help you be the best person you can be right now. And
And
I don't need anything else because
most
you will always get the best from me.
Yeah, and most people, I think what we're worried about is that if we see the true colors of ourselves or other people around us, that we're not going to like it. And the
Yeah.
reality is that most people, when they're decompressed, when they
Mhm.
are allowed to choose themselves, their true colors are beautiful, right?
They're
Like
amazing.
we actually the true colors of people in general, this is the health belief model. People are genuinely wanting to do good for themselves and others. We do
Mhm.
genuinely want to have good experiences. I don't know many people that want to genuinely have bad experiences. They may have distorted ideas of what good experiences are,
Sure.
but
Agreed.
we genuinely want to have good experiences. And when we're decompressed and we're in choice and we
Mhm.
have capacity, we have beautiful experiences that we choose together.
Yeah. And it once you start placating off of that with people that are around you that allow you that space and you allow them that space, exactly like you said before, it's a secured aspect of understanding that you're going to give me the space to do what's best for me and I will show up what's best for you.
Yes,
Just
I do like that.
it creates a wonderful safe space for people to actually tell their true story.
Yeah, and feel heard and be seen and
Mhm.
all of the things that allow us to blossom and bloom into like authenticity. So you went to the extreme, got to your pinnacle moment, and then what is life like now? So you started to choose yourself. It was painful at first. We were just talking off camera a minute ago about both of us having these types of experiences where it was difficult to see the next day. Like, I don't want to live anymore. Like,
Yes,
I'm so not myself and I don't even know who I am. I don't know how to get there. I don't know how to get there. And honestly, trying to get there is way too much work. I'd rather opt out, right? Like
agreed.
sometimes it feels like that. And, for
Mhm.
anybody that's listening or watching, and we're talking about big, hard feelings and about ending life, like those are
Mhm.
normal experiences to have in these finding yourself types of moments. And so don't feel alone. Don't give into that. Like stick it out, find someone you can talk to, reach out to me, reach out to somebody that's been on the
Agreed.
podcast. This is not something that you're going through in a silo. It's so normal. And not that everyone goes through it and not that it's not huge and big and terrible, but
Mhm.
it's something that can be navigated. And here is how, right? On the other side of just continuing to realize that you are worth the energy and time it takes to live, to just be without anybody else's expectation on you. Like when you start to just start there at the baseline, life
Mhm.
can get better. So tell me what's been going on for you since then. Like, what's life like now on the other side of that?
Life is now, every day I get up, I truly set my intention before my feet hit the ground that I will have a great day. No
Mm.
matter what the circumstances are, I will accept them as they are because that's the best thing I can possibly do. I'll find the best way that I possibly can to navigate it. And I will create a positive impact on everyone that I come in contact with, the best way that I possibly can. So for me, getting up every day now, I am way more focused on being able to regain enough energy for myself in order to be able to move forward. So before I even begin working throughout the day, I am up by 7-ish in the morning, and I will meditate every single morning to give myself the time to come back to an equilibrium, to understand my thoughts and my emotions and where I'm feeling, to be
Mhm.
able to help me navigate. Okay, I'm running a little bit, hot today, and my thinking is really scattered. So I probably shouldn't make really big decisions today until I can start calming down that process.
Mm.
And or if I get really calm, I can say, okay, let's make a bigger impact today.
Mm.
And it creates the ability for me to have far more clarity and calmness in every decision that I make consistently every day. Because I
Mhm.
know every decision you make, you do not know the answer, being positive or negative, until the whole thing plays out.
That's right.
You just don't. And there's a great age old story of, a guy who used to have a horse, and the horse ran away, and everyone said, "Oh my God, that's such bad luck." And he said,
Mhm.
"Maybe, we'll see." And the horse came back with a whole bunch of mares. And once all the horses came back, they said, "Oh my God, you're so lucky. You have a whole bunch of horses now." He said, "Maybe, we'll see." And his son rode on one of the horses, and the horse bucked his son off, and horse broke his son's leg. And he said, "My God, I can't believe your son broke his leg. That's so terrible. Maybe, we'll see."
Mhm.
And then they came recruiting for the army, and his son couldn't go in the army and go fight war because his leg was broken. They said, "You're so lucky. Maybe, we'll see." Because you don't know what any situation that you ever go into, if it's going to be good or bad, until it plays itself out.
Yeah,
And
well, and I know that story, right? The ending of that story is that they have a famine that year and they have a new
yep,
mouth to feed because he didn't go to the army. And so
yeah,
it's like that, right? Like life is up and down, and there's nothing that's like so good that it's a huge positive, nothing so bad that it's the ultimate negative, right? It's always, having that win-win mindset of finding what you can work with and choosing to be in choice with it and working towards whatever and there is. But that story is so beautiful about the neutrality, like choosing to be managing your energy, not too up, not too down, so that you can meet everything with that sound mind of not feeling disappointed if it goes the opposite direction, being able to stay with choice and vision and focus to make that impact that you're looking for.
yeah, and it alters every aspect of your life. It just slowly trickles into everything you do. The more you consistently apply that approach, it just finds its way like ink and water to every part of your life, where you get to say, "This is amazing. This was great. This was wonderful. This was terrible. But I'll still find a way to get through the highs. I'll still find a way to get through the lows. And every single one of them has something to teach me. It's
Hmm.
up to me to learn. If the decisions I made leading up to that point were terrible, I won't make them again. But if the decisions you made led off to great joy and happiness, make some of them again. You get to pick and choose how you get to go move forward in life. And being able to bring yourself back to an equilibrium is one of the most important things, which is hence why I choose to meditate every morning, and if I can, before I go to bed.
Yeah, taking personal responsibility for our own felt sense of safety. A lot of people nowadays, especially with new age spirituality, talk about the idea of nervous system regulation, feeling
Oh yeah.
dysregulated. And so
Mhm.
that's what we're talking about. We're talking about neutrality, and about meditation is taking personal responsibility for your own nervous system regulation. We have outsourced that, like we are talking about, as far as outsourcing external validation. People's opinions of us become more important than our opinions of ourselves. And what they say, how they live their life, if it's not in confluence with us, then we take that as an attack, and that makes us feel destabilized in our equilibrium or in our
Agreed.
nervous system dysregulation. And so we have seen it in the last decade where people are thinking, oh, I'm dysregulated because of what you're doing. No, you are dysregulated because of what you're not doing. It's your responsibility to be able to manage and tolerate, regardless of the outcome, as we're talking about, regardless of the people's opinions around you. It's your opinion of yourself that will always be your internal compass. And so taking the time to sit with that, as we call like meditation, breath work, anything, whatever it ends up being for you that gets you
What's
back
your
to self, that is what you need to do in order to take more responsibility for your experience of life.
Yep, wholeheartedly. And being able to do that consistently, oh, I wish that upon everyone who's listening,
Game changer.
and anybody else that you can filter that idea out to. I pray that they're able to grasp onto it.
So how are you making impact now? What's your impact like?
My impact is I definitely try to help people with perspective on how they approach certain aspects. So, like success is one of the bigger things that I talk about, and I try to help clients with, just to be able for them to understand that you can't ever truly fail at anything unless you properly sat down to define really what success is to you. So, uh, failure is impossible. It doesn't exist unless you define what it means to win.
Right.
So, in order for the people to say, "Oh, I failed. I'm a failure. I shouldn't have done that. I failed at," I always just ask simple questions, just creating a positive impact of what did success look like to you before you started out that journey.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't have a valid idea of what success is, they begin to lessen the load of failure and the heaviness of going, I never actually sat down to decide what it was a success means to me at that moment.
Right.
I
Yeah.
just thought that I should get a job, or I just thought I should be in a relationship, or I just thought that I should do that. And when you do those things, you do feel like a failure, but you've never taken the time to evaluate for yourself what it means. What's the positive sides for you? What is your ultimate goal? What are the small steps? And what is the pie in the sky, down the road goal? And I try to shift and make it a positive impact for them to understand that creating a goal that is almost unobtainable, like the pursuit of happiness,
Mm-hmm.
that's an unobtainable goal, but it is a goal.
Yeah. And I think also
And
like when you talk about also the idea of meditation, right? The goal is to empty your mind. It's unobtainable, but the real goal isn't actually to get to the goal. The goal is to just strive for the goal, and that is where all the magic happens.
100%, it happens every single time. And for me, meditation has been one of my greatest teachers because it has allowed me that, when I was alone, I would always feel lonely. I would
Mhm.
always feel like I needed to have someone around. I needed to have someone near me. I needed to have someone to talk to or support. And I needed to get comfortable in just me, no one around, nothing else. And that's where meditation really taught me how my thought process works, and how it will scatter at times, and how other times I can become extremely calm and just pay attention to only sounds. And it lessens the amount of forecasting and projecting and reminiscing about things that have happened and things that
Mhm.
may or may not happen. And
Right.
once I started to realize how fast my mind would run in those aspects, I started to realize I did that my entire life. I never stayed living in this moment because this is the only one that truly matters. I lived
Mhm.
in what could happen or what did happen. I never lived in the moment of even when an idea comes into your mind. Sit with it,
Mhm.
understand that it's not you, and let it go. Or act on it if you believe that that is what has true meaning to you. And that's how meditation has helped me just move forward in creating a cleaner, clearer process.
And you're working with clients, also along those same lines, right?
Yep. So just being, and every single one is very different. Everybody approaches aspects so vastly different because we all come from different backgrounds, different economic backgrounds, family structures, money, all of it, friends. I mean, where we grew up, all of that changes. So the lens in which we see the world is unique and particular to just us. Even our joys and our successes and our failures are all different, even though we may have accomplished some of the same things. So getting people to understand that their true story of who they are is unique and
Mhm.
it needs to be told, because all we have at the end of the day is information.
Mm-hmm.
Your information has the ability to create a healthy life for yourself and for someone around you, which is why we all love when you do random acts of kindness. They make you feel just great inside with not
Yeah.
expecting anything else in return.
Yeah, just being just disassociated from the outcome. And I love
Mhm.
what you said about meditation before too, was that you get to know yourself so that you can come back to even liking yourself. There's a certain amount of neutrality that needs to happen before you can love yourself. You have to
Yeah.
not hate yourself enough to just tolerate yourself. And in the moments of meditation, we learn how to tolerate all the things that we hate about ourselves so that at some point we can maybe move past to kind of liking ourselves, and then also at some point maybe even loving ourselves. And we can't get there unless we know who we are. And meditation is a lovely way to start that process of understanding who is going on here, like what is this happening, and what and there's some really good stuff about that I forgot about, but that I kept giving away and not giving back to me. So learning that process, I like that idea of using meditation as the way inward after this big awareness event of recognizing that you have no self. Finding the self that really resonates with you is so important.
It is, and the manner in which you find it, everyone does it very differently
Yeah.
because we all learn very differently, and how we process information and absorb information is needs to be tailored toward the person that is sitting across from you in order for them to get the best results. For me, it's meditation. For
Mhm.
others, it might not be meditation. It may be
Right.
reading. It may be listening to other people speak. It may be getting hands-on teaching, and
Mhm.
those aspects are helping you figure out who you are at your core. And
Mhm.
even just getting to the tiny aspects of how you learn is just one single building block into figuring out who you are. And the more you just keep adding tiny little steps, like once you figure out what you learn, how you learn, start learning that way. If it's
Mhm.
reading books, well, then let's tailor it toward reading books that will give you information that you can apply on a consistent basis. If it's speaking, if it's TEDx's, if it's, you know, going away on retreats, we'll keep tailoring those things to make sure that your process is in line with how you are going to obtain and retain all the information that you're learning. And each one of us is very different. For me, it's meditation, and others, it's different.
Yeah, and that's, because we have so many options, this idea of going out for self-discovery and going through a period of personal development can be a trap, because if you just start to do what everybody else is doing or what everyone else tells you to do, you're right back at square one, not knowing
Yep.
who you are. And so this is a great way to say what works for me, and then actually doing that even if it doesn't work for somebody else or they're telling you that you should be doing something else.
Yep.
Being able to make that choice. This is what works for me. Here's what I'm going to keep doing. It doesn't even matter what you choose. What matters is that you choose it from a place of authenticity.
Correct. And that is just what is those simple, those again, simple, tiny steps that just help you build who you are. And if it starts there, it starts there. And
So
that's
you
the whole purpose.
Yeah, and you were talking about, we've talked about impact. This whole time we've really been talking about impact, which is one of my favorite topics. I think this is an anchoring point. If you can get to a point in your life where this is the goal. Like, what is
Mhm.
your purpose in life? My purpose in life is to have an authentic impact in the world. It's broad and specific to me. It can be broad and specific to somebody else because everyone's impact is a little bit different. But when you start to think about impact and recognize that you don't have any impact without choice, you don't have any choice without self, you don't have any self without being able to choose what's important, having agency and autonomy
Mhm.
over your own life. In the past, you were not able to make the impact that you're making now.
Correct. Correct.
Now, on the other side of, we've only talked about one of the things, but things like divorce, things like job change, things like big pinnacle life events where we are choosing to walk away from whatever we built that wasn't us, that's no
Mhm.
longer serving us, for this idea of being in alignment with our impact. And
Yes.
now, how long has it been since you've started this journey of becoming in alignment with your impact?
Oh, sure. I spent 20 years in tech, and I built myself all the way up to be a director of IT. And I protected data for Fortune 500 clients. And then I moved into building IT infrastructures for multi-million dollar organizations. And the more and more just kept putting myself through that process, the more and more I became unhappy with all of it. So I quit probably a little over 4 years ago. I moved into an aspect that I loved at the time, where it was finance and investing and trading and markets. I jumped into that. I taught myself as much as I possibly could. I've been doing it for about 2.5 years, 3 years. And at that same time, that was when I began leaving behind the corporate world and
Mhm.
choosing even just one simple step of what do I love right now.
Yes.
I love the way markets work. I love the way you have to thought process of going through all of that. So I jumped into that for myself, and I've then started to jump into the other entrepreneurial side of creating a business that is steeped in understanding who you are and, speaking and writing. Book is completed. So hopefully that should come out at some point. Um,
Awesome.
so all of those kinds of aspects of, it's not one single decision that I made for myself. It was multiple decisions that I made that aligned with who I wanted to be.
Mhm.
And unless I made those giant leaps, I would have never, about 3 years ago, gotten to the position where I can help people move forward in their lives just by understanding what it takes, from fighting on the front lines of getting up every day and understanding that you need to figure out what it is to choose yourself first
Mhm.
before you have the ability to even step into the arena of helping, genuinely helping someone from a place of love and respect and ability to hear them rather than ability to change them.
Yeah, I have this whole mastermind course for space holders, for coaches and leaders, thought leaders, on just that, right? Like me first mindset for people that are choosing themselves is a whole vibe that we just talked about. And then
Yeah,
me first mindset for people that are teaching people how to choose themselves is a different layer, because we have to choose ourselves in the process of helping somebody else choose themselves. And that middle pack leadership, where you're really, you're creating a specific environment for your own well-being and then
mhm,
modeling that and then creating it for somebody else, is a little different. And you're right, it takes a higher level of, the word that I use is integrity, in your
mhm.
own practice. I have
Very
to be
good.
dialed in. I have to be clear. I have to be conscious of my choices. I have to be living this, walking this, breathing this, for it to make sense to anybody else.
Every day. Because
Every
there's so
day.
many different aspects, so many
Yeah.
different aspects that you will learn from what people do, because your actions will more often than not speak louder than your words.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, how you act will become more authentic than how you speak. So
Hmm.
if you can continually show up for someone and you can continually have their best interest at mind while setting healthy boundaries, knowing that you can only go so far, you can't, it is not everything. And this isn't like a plethora of options. It is certain aspects that you can get to a certain threshold where you may need to say, I can take you as far as this in that certain aspect, but I don't want to go further, because one, that's just a disservice to me and you, and
Hmm.
I'm not showing up in the best interest for myself and you. So
Yeah.
I can give you a resource to get you there, but I'm not the one to be able to give you that information or to get you to that place.
And
And
yes, for us to even show up there at all, we have to do that work first. Like I have to bookend. I have to do my work first and last. I have to say, here's where I can be in neutrality. This is what I'm expecting. Here's the energy I can give. This is the integrity offering that I have. I have to live that out while I'm with my client. And then at the end, I have to go back and I have to re up. I have to fill my cup. I have to dis
agree.
dissolve what's happening. I have to shed whatever we did together. I have
Yep.
to allow the outcome to not be in my hands, because I don't control anybody else's outcome but my own. And then I have to get back to being who I need to be for myself. And so we have this container. That's why we create, like space creators or container creators. And we do that in the way we have to do it is there has to be a beginning and an end. So you start
Mhm.
it with yourself in mind, and then you end it with yourself in mind. And that is the best service you can give to somebody else.
The best, and the more consistent we are with it, the better and more authentic we become for everyone around us. And I agree wholeheartedly with every word you just said. That is one of the most healthy ways for all of us to show up. And that's not even in a coaching setting or a client setting or any setting. It's just how the practice of how you need to show up every day. That's an incredibly healthy way for all of us to adopt.
So you went through a big transition. You went through a really difficult time. You unlearned a lot of stuff. You had to opt out of things that you thought were going to be your long-term goals. And you're building now a different life that looks different but feels more aligned to you. Was all of that change worth it?
110%. I would never have changed anything that I've ever done in life purely because I would not know what I know now if I made different decisions back then.
Yeah.
So
True.
everything that I have done, every failure, every catastrophic moment that has been terrible has led me to where I am. And I would say it's worth every single step that you can take in the general direction of where you think you need to go. Because the more
Yeah.
steps you just continue to take in that direction, the clearer and clearer and clearer the path will end up becoming for you. But
Hmm.
it has to just be one.
The step in front of you.
It's that's it. There's nothing more you can possibly do. You can't change the end of the day. We have no idea what's going to happen at 5 o'clock today. So at 2 o'clock, this is what it needs to be. It just is right now. This is the next step you can possibly do with the information that you have that fits you in the best way possible. And
Mm,
I would tell you, and anyone who's listening, take the step for you
mhm.
100% of the time. You will never regret it.